to you from the basement of the office. Please make that the credit song. I want that to be the credit
We
song.
should have like a theme song, right?
We should. I'll sing it. I got you on that one.
Yeah, I think you just
Like-
sang it right there.
I got it.
Will Smith and like Fresher Billy. Prince of Billy. Like he did the whole song himself, Will Smith. And he was the star.
Yeah, we could do that.
Yeah. Will Santiago instead of Will
West
Smith.
Michigan, born and raised. In the basement's where I spend most of my days.
Oh God.
Got it. I already got it, bro.
That was fire.
So this is Will Santiago and my friend over here
Jesus Cortes.
coming to you from the basement of our office, Forging the Future podcast.
The future will be forged.
And another one over here, man. We're having fun with this podcast. If you guys didn't listen to the last podcast, we had Mike from Mojo in the Morning. We had a lot of fun on that one, man. A lot of fun,
Yeah,
a lot of
that was
information.
great.
The guy's awesome. Mike is awesome, man.
He gave us a lot of good tips.
He gave us a lot of good tips, and I mean, this is his game. He knows
Yeah.
what he's doing, and we had a good time. Everything was smooth, and I was laughing a whole lot. So if you guys are looking to laugh, if you guys are looking for some great details and information, check out that last podcast, man.
For sure.
But we got another great show for you guys here today. But before we get into that, let's tell them what Forging the Future is all about. Give them a quick summary, quick recap for those new people who are listening and have no idea what we're going to be talking about here today. What do we do?
So we are a podcast specifically for the workers, for the hardworking people at home. If they want something to watch that relates to them, we're the podcast for them.
We talk about things that happen at work. We talk about how to get into work. We talk about some serious stuff, some funny stuff, sometimes some sad stuff. We talk about all that.
Everything.
All the work-related stuff. So if you guys have any ideas of any subjects that we should talk about, please leave us a comment, send us a message, and we'll do the research and get that information out there for you guys. So that's what we're here for.
100%.
Yeah, and we're having fun. We're having a lot of fun with this, man. So you guys keep listening and help us go
Go viral.
viral. Help us go. I want to go to Hollywood, so I don't want to go to Hollywood. I really like where I live, but so how was your week
It's
this week,
expensive.
man?
It was all right, man. I can't complain. It's busy here at the office as usual.
Yeah. For those of you who are listening for the first time, me and Jesus, we work for a company called Forge Industrial Staffing,
Yes.
staffing agency here in Grand Rapids, Michigan, in West Michigan area, and it has been extremely busy for us. That's a good thing. We like busy. Busy is good. You know, people are looking for work, and there's a lot of employers out there looking for great people. So, you know, it's been a busy week for us, but here we are at the end of the week. It's a Friday for us, and here we are having fun.
Yes. Best staffing agency in the Midwest.
Yeah. Earlier, before we started the podcast, we talked a little bit about the Art Fest down here in Grand Rapids, and you were talking about some of the exhibits down here. Tell us a little bit
Well,
about that.
when I went, it was just starting up.
Yeah.
So there wasn't too much out there, but they were setting up for a lot of things.
Yeah.
And yeah, I've seen some pretty cool stuff. Like the polar bears outside of the General Ford Museum.
Made out of what was it?
Needles.
Needles.
Yes.
Needles, and like
Like,
they paint them up.
Yeah, so so the structure was made out of the needles, and then they were like coated. It looked like it was paint.
All right.
But yeah, check
Yeah.
them out.
For those of you who are not familiar with what we're talking about, we have the biggest art fest in the world here in Grand Rapids, Michigan.
Yeah.
And they put it on every other year. And, it's here again, 2022. And they just started last weekend. So if you get a chance here in the West Michigan area,
Check it out.
Check it out, man.
Or,
Grand
you know,
Rapids Art Fest.
Or enter
I mean,
your art.
we
They pay
have
pretty
people.
dang good.
Yeah, we have people from all over the world.
Yeah,
who
they-
enter to this
The
fest.
prizes are up to like $300,000 for like the winners.
And there's some awesome exhibits, man.
Oh, for sure.
There's some really nice stuff. So if you get a chance to come on down to Grand Rapids, downtown area, check out the Art Fest. I'm going to try it this weekend and check it out. I doubt I'll get out there, but I'm going to try. Take the dogs out
It's not
there
too far.
and
Dude.
walk around.
Like
No,
15 minutes.
I'm
Right?
like 15 minutes drive
Yeah.
from them, but just a matter of finding the time. That's all.
Yeah,
So,
for sure.
Hopefully we can make it happen. But let's get into, we got some good subjects for you guys today. We're going to have fun with this podcast. And the first subject we want to talk about is a huge subject of interest here in the United States. It's brought up quite often. And we're talking about maternity leave.
Yes.
Give us a little bit of details about maternity leave here in the United States there, Jesus.
Well, as compared to how we stack up against other countries, we're not sitting too.
No,
No.
not at all, man. According to ILO.org, there are more than 120 countries in the world that pay maternity leave. Only 3 countries that do not, and that's Australia, New Zealand, and the United States, which is kind of ridiculous. In my opinion, I mean, I know that everybody has their own opinion, but this is just my personal opinion that we have no national federal law that requires maternity leave. Obviously, there are some companies that do, but that's up to the company. There is no law that requires companies to do maternity leave. And so, United States is falling way behind on this one. So
yeah, and to give you guys some examples, Greece pays up to 43 weeks, the UK 39 weeks, Croatia 30 weeks.
I mean, we're talking about months. That's like 7 to 9 months of paid maternity leave.
Yeah.
I mean, that's incredible. You know, a lot of these women, they spend a lot of time outside of their house, having to work. And so when they do have those kids, especially in that first year, it's really important that they're home. And but how are they going to do that? They can't pay the bills. So it's really cool that these countries have that priority in mind and trying to help.
Like you said, households. Some companies do provide it, but it shouldn't be up to the companies.
No.
It should be up to the government.
It definitely should. There should be some law. I don't know how far it should go. I don't know if I agree with 9 months. I mean, again, it's just personal opinion, but there should be something. Definitely. Something there. So
I mean, I didn't know about this until recently.
Yeah. But you know what my opinion, you got Jesus' opinion, but we want to hear the most important opinion out there.
The most important opinion.
And so we're going to bring on, from behind the scenes, behind the cameras here, one of our producers, Mr. JJ, Mr. Jeff Jones, one of our producers here, who's going to join us for this conversation here. And so we're going to bring him out, Mr. JJ. Come on out and tell us a little bit about your opinions and what you found out about maternity leave.
Here comes a new challenger!
All right, we're good?
Yeah.
Good. All right, so we are here with Mr. Jeff, one of our producers behind the camera here. We're going to talk to him a little bit about maternity leave, paid maternity leave, Jeff, right?
Yes.
Before we get to that, though, tell us a little bit about who you are and why are you so important?
Yes.
I'm not important.
You are, man.
So, my name is Jeff Jones. I'm the digital marketing manager at Forge Industrial Staffing. I do pretty much all the ads, all the Facebook ads and Google ads and YouTube ads and
all the ads.
So when you're swiping through Facebook and you see one of those beautiful advertisements from Forge Industrial Staffing.
Advertisements, yes, but if you're seeing some of the fantastic content, that would be Spencer.
Check that out.
Ooh.
Spencer, come back here.
Hello.
You got the wrong guy on the mic here.
I have my own camera.
I'm just playing.
And Jesus helps with the content.
Sometimes.
And they both help with that. So we work very collaboratively together. We don't really just you stay in your lane, I'll stay in mine. It's
such a humble director.
But he's the brains behind it all.
He's a mastermind.
Yeah, he's a mastermind behind it all. So
so humble.
gotta
So
thank
humble. So Jeff, you wanted to join us for this part of the conversation. So tell us a little bit about paid maternity leave.
Yeah. So my thoughts, I thought might be a little bit more, might offer a little bit more insightful opinion, being that I have 4 kids, so I've been through this a few times.
Yeah.
And maternity leave, and I think it's is it paternity leave for men?
Yeah.
It's even a bigger stretch. Like most places, the men don't get to take time off, or a lot of places, I won't say most, but a lot of places they don't get anything.
Yeah.
When we had my my last, not my youngest, but my daughter before that, her name is Mila. When we had her, I worked at AT&T, and I worked for AT&T corporate. So like the big, huge company, not a retailer or anything.
Yeah.
So one of the richest companies in the world, and when we had her, I got to take 2 weeks off, and I could extend that to 6, but there was no pay at all. So absolutely none. I could take FMLA, or I think I could take short-term
disability.
Yeah, short-term disability and get some pay, but other than that, that was it.
Yeah.
My wife, she took, I think, 6 months, and again, she actually got zero pay, nothing.
Yeah.
And it's just, it baffles me. I came across an article, kind of talking about this, and it talked about how Canada has, depending on the province, up to 12 months for maternity and paternity leave.
Yeah.
And it's like at 80% of pay, and then most companies will actually chip in the extra 20% so you don't lose anything and you get a whole year off.
Okay.
And I don't know, I think it's a little bit the best practice is probably somewhere in the middle.
Yeah.
I don't think it's quite
As opposed to none.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. It is a bit ridiculous. Again, according to ILO.org, 59% of the women who are working, they supply about half, or maybe even more, of the income. Right. So, having them have to step away from, and here in the United States, we're talking about close to 55% of the women. So when they have to step away from work to take care of their children, take care of that baby, because somebody has to take care of them. It's got to be the mom, right? It's got to be. They have to be there. And so them stepping away and having to take care of that, and then the father who also wants to be there, especially during those first few months. I mean, you've got a brand new baby. You want to be there. You want to make that connection. But then you also have to make that decision. Okay, but we still got to pay for the formula. We got to pay for the bills. We got to pay for the hospital bills. We got to pay for all this stuff. So how do we make this decision? I want to have this connection. I want to be there for my child, but I got to make sure that we still have food on the table.
Yeah.
So it's very tough. And, quite often we've seen mothers going back into the workforce after just a few weeks, and having to break off that connection with that child. And they come in, and some of them, I've seen it, and I've seen them, they come in and they're kind of upset, and it's understandable. It's understandable. So yeah, having the federal government not provide some kind of supplement to assist in that kind of thing, understanding that data, 55% of women who supply more than half in some cases 100% of the
So
income.
how did you guys get through that period of time in your life where you had to? I mean, you can't go back to work, so you have to.
Basically, you burn through your savings, and then you start over when you go back to work.
Yeah.
You just kind of make do. That's honestly what being a parent is 90% of the time, is just push through and figure it out. With talking, kind of touching on what you were just saying, with my youngest daughter, everything was different with that. So she was born November of 2020. So in the middle of COVID.
Wow. Yeah.
And it was at that time, for the last several years, I'd worked for myself, ran my own marketing agency, and that's how I provided for our family.
Yeah.
My wife actually worked, I won't say the actual company because this doesn't reflect well on them. So, but she worked for a state affiliated organization.
Yeah.
When she got pregnant, everything was fine. When it got time to take maternity leave, they were very, and granted, I don't know if COVID played a factor in why they were like this, but they were very like, how long are you going to be gone? When are you coming back? What are we going to do without you?
Yeah.
So she took 6 weeks.
Yeah.
And that was it. And granted, she was working from home, so it was, she was still there.
Yeah.
But a lot of the stuff that I don't want to say I didn't have to deal with, that I wasn't there for with my 8-year-old daughter, I had to, kind of step up and do with my younger. So it's, and again, kind of same thing. It's a strain, but push through and figure it out. It's good times.
Yeah.
You guys should have kids. Like,
Yeah.
definitely.
Well, I'm looking forward to it, especially hearing that story. I really want to know.
No, you can have empty bank accounts.
No
time to
sleep.
do anything.
Yeah.
No
So you had to
sleep.
save up each and every time that, or you just had savings that you just had to burn each and every time that you had.
Yeah, so I've been pretty fortunate in my business endeavors and stuff. So we've always made it through with little to no interruption.
Okay.
The downside though is it's starting all the way back at zero. So by the time you're back to work, you're starting over.
Yep.
And when your priorities are, like saving towards something, a vacation or a house or whatever you're trying to save towards, it's a strain, because then it's like all progress, all momentum is lost, and you start back over. Granted, you have a baby and it's awesome and all the great stuff, but it's from a financial standpoint, it's taxing.
Yeah.
And like my thought on it was, these people typically, when they grow up, are going to be taxpayers. They're going to help fund the government. So why don't the government invest a little bit into making sure they have that connection in the very beginning?
Well, it's very important. I mean, on a psychological level, when having that baby, that they make that connection, physical connection, emotional connection, connection on every level.
Mm-hmm.
And how else are they going to do that if the parents are not available? If they're not there, now they're making connection with a babysitter. They're making connection. That can be difficult. And I mean, on a psychological level, this has been proven. This has been researched. This is something that there's data that this, that's a very important age of their life, that they make those connections. And so it is an investment in the future, like you said.
Well, and it's funny that you say that, because that's the personality differences between my two girls is phenomenal.
Yeah.
Like my 8-year-old Mila, she is a mama's girl. Like,
Yeah.
there's no doubt about it. But she spent every day, her entire first 6 to 12 months alone with my wife while I was at work. And then I actually didn't really mention this, but during the last couple of years at AT&T is when I started my business. And so after a little bit, she actually didn't even go back to work. Well, she went back for a little bit, but then she quit
able to
shortly.
step away,
It was able to stop shortly after, and was home with Mila pretty much until she was 5 or 6, till she went off to school.
Yep.
And then with Olivia, completely different. She had, like I said, a few weeks in the beginning there, but then she was with me.
Right.
Like she was in my office with me most of the time. And she, once Leslie was, back to work full time, she was fielding calls, and just couldn't have a baby in the background kind of thing. Mm-hmm. So she was just with me. And once Leslie went back to the office, it was even more so. Then she didn't even get to see her on breaks. It was she was just with me, and she is like my kid.
Yeah.
She just, whenever anything happens, she wants me. I've been sleep deprived for the last month because she wants me all the time.
Yeah.
And it's
We're talking about, she's 2 years now, right? Yeah.
not just about to. She'll be 2 in November.
Yeah.
So it's crazy.
Yeah.
How was the whole having a kid during COVID thing? Because it got pretty complicated for a lot of people.
Yes. I got to go to 0 appointments, which,
That's gotta be tough.
it is.
You want to be a part of that
I made it
experience.
to just about all of them.
Yeah.
with Mila. There was a few here and there if there were minor appointments that I didn't get to make, but for the most part I was there. I seen the first ultrasound. I got to be there when we
Nice.
confirmed there was a baby and all of that stuff. With Olivia, I didn't get to do any of that. And then my wife has, so when she had Mila, she actually had some complications, and I was adamant that talk to the doctor about this stuff, because I don't want it to be an issue when the time comes to have the baby. And my wife is very I want to phrase this because she's going to see it.
Be careful, Jeff.
she's a very kind person.
Okay.
Like she's very I don't want to say submissive, but she's very
Understanding.
Yes, she's
Very
very
patient.
understanding.
Yes.
And patient.
I
Yes.
gotcha.
Very, very much so. So she tends to like she'll tell doctors stuff, and she just kind of whatever they say is what she goes with. And there's no, even if she disagrees, there's no real pushback from her until she's completely miserable or something, and then then you get to see the other side.
Yeah,
but
right.
it takes a lot to get there.
Okay.
But that was one of my things is, we talked about this. I was like, make sure you tell the doctor about it. She's like, I did. She said it's not going to be a problem. Okay. And then we get into the operating room, and I don't know if she doesn't want to see this, I'll cut it out. Or doesn't want me to say this, I'll cut it out. But she had to deliver by C-section, and she had her C-section actually herniated after Mila. So she had to get a mesh put in. And I was like telling the doctor, or have her tell the doctor that there's a mesh literally where you're cutting.
Right.
And the doctor just, nope, no big deal. Didn't check a file, didn't do anything. Just, nope, won't be a problem. We get literally to the operating table when they're doing the C-section. She's like, oh yeah, I see what you mean. That's in the way. I'm like,
We told you.
stupid.
Yeah.
But
And you're already in kind of a frustrating situation with the whole pandemic happening,
Yeah.
and now you have to go.
well,
deal
and
with
that's
that.
that's my thing. Is like had I been able to attend the appointments, I would have been a little bit more direct
Yeah.
and assertive with the situation.
Yeah.
Like, no, it's not going to be a problem. You need to look into this because
It's going to be a problem.
and that's the surgeon that did it had asked. Like, we thought we were done with kids, and the surgeon that put the mesh in told my wife, he was like, I'm not going to do this if you're going to have more kids because it's going to cause all sorts of issues.
Yeah.
So like, one doctor says it's going to be a problem.
The other one says
Next
no,
one
no
says
problem.
no, it's fine.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
yeah, but other than that, in terms of what the pandemic was like, it wasn't too different. It was kind of nice having everybody home for a lot of it. So that was kind of
The
I'm
positive.
Sure, I'm sure everyone kind of went the same. I actually, this is going to sound terrible, I liked the pandemic. Like, I thought it was awesome.
Like working from home and that sort of thing.
Not just working from home, having everybody home. Like,
Oh yeah.
everybody that I love is in this house.
Yeah.
I don't have to worry about anything happening to anybody
Yeah.
because they're right here.
Yeah, they're with me.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then obviously the flip side of that is we have to go to the store, we have to get milk, we have to, do, so there's still risk, but it's, I don't know.
Okay. Getting back to the subject of the
Yeah,
maternity
sorry.
leave. No.
I digress.
Oh, I love all of that. But getting back to the subject of maternity leave, now we've all shared our opinions, how we feel about the situation. Now, the flip side of that coin is that a lot of the companies who don't want to pay a maternity leave, or the government who doesn't want to pay maternity leave, their argument is you're making the choice to have children, right? You're making a choice to have a family. Why should we then have to take on that debt? Why should we have to take on that financial debt to take care of your decision or your family? So I see that flip side of the coin. I can't
that
quite
makes
say
sense.
I understand it, but
Yeah.
I do see it, and I can see where it makes sense.
For
Definitely.
companies.
Yeah.
Not for the government.
All right.
Well, and that's the government wastes money on so many other things. Like,
Did we just have? I mean, some people might not think this is a waste, but didn't NASA just sent I don't know, it was like $1.50 billion,
Probably.
and they shot some rocket at an asteroid? It's so stuff like that.
I think it was a satellite.
Yeah, I mean,
But-
other people might say that
Like,
that
there's
is something we need to look into.
Priorities.
But priorities, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So like education probably comes before shooting satellites at an asteroid.
Yeah.
And maternity leave comes before that also.
Yeah.
I disagree.
Yeah.
I think we need to just shoot all that.
I mean, unless it was gonna crash into our planet, but then that should have been a nationwide type thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually, I was going to record myself on this one.
You fumbled it.
I don't know if my mic's on or anything, but
Should be.
I actually heard that there is technology where they, I believe NASA developed it or something. They're actually able to track any asteroids in our solar system or like any nearby
that are going to be a
asteroids,
danger to us.
we're good for like hundreds of years.
Look at this.
So like we're actually good for a long
Yeah.
time, like in terms of asteroids hitting the planet. So
That's ridiculous.
as far as we know, we're
And
good.
we already see. I mean, the data's there, the information is there, the numbers are there, but we see the struggle that we have with the children today. I mean, it's not easy, and I mean, parents probably have a large influence on how these kids are being. Obviously, they have a huge influence on how these kids are being raised, but to be able to be the government and to invest on the welfare of our children, I would find that to be very important. The welfare of not just the children, but the family in a whole. You know, pulling somebody away from the workforce where they can no longer provide a salary to take care of their family, to be home. I mean, that's huge. You know, they're going to have to rely on welfare anyways. They're going to have to rely on these different governmental, what's the word I'm looking for? Assistance. Exactly. So they're already relying on that. So why don't we have a program that is focused on maternity leave, focused on helping these moms and dads too, who want to be home to raise their children, who want to be home. We're not talking about a lifetime thing. We're not talking about years.
Well, and I think that's where things get weird. Is how long is the right time? Because like the Canadian thing, I don't think a year is necessary.
And, Jesus was reading some of these, and I'm like doing the calculation. I had 9 months. I'm like, well, that is a little long, you know. So you do have to find that happy balance, right? That happy medium. But I do think there should be some program. Someone should be looking into this. Someone should be talking about this. Someone should be doing something about this because, if the day I do have kids, I would love to be home. I would love to be home for a few weeks with my wife and my child and make that connection and enjoy that part of my life and make memories, you know. But how are you going to make happy memories when all you're thinking about is who's going to pay the bills? Right. So it's really tough. It's a difficult thing. So, I mean, this is a subject that we could talk probably episodes about day after day after day, and have different guests coming on and talking about that. We appreciate your time, Jeff. We appreciate you talking a little bit about your history with maternity leave or paternity leave, and we really do appreciate that. Jesus, do you have anything else, Jesus?
No. When I have kids, I'll come back to you, Jeff.
We'll have another
I
episode.
expect to be godfather.
Thank you. A round of applause for Mr. Jeff. Thank you very much, Jeff. All right, now on to our next subject.
The application process.
The application process.
Isn't it such a hassle?
It is a hassle, man. I'm going to tell you a story. Many years ago, I used to work for this company. I worked for this company where the application process, we used to have a class.
Yeah.
Okay. And we had this class where we would bring all these applicants in and they would all do the application process all at once. And we're talking about up to 20 people at a time in this one class. And the application process could take anything between 2 to 4 hours. All right, so they would all come in this class, we'd give them the orientation, they would all fill out the application, and one by one we would start interviewing them.
Yeah.
So the last person in that class, depending how big it was, they could have been there for 3 to 4 hours waiting.
Jeez.
All right, and so we saw the times were changing, right? And we had decided we got to change this application process because me as a person, I don't have 2 to 3 hours in a day on one application. And the company that did this wasn't the only company doing that. This was the common practice at the time, that you were going to be in the application process, whether it was online or you had to go to the company, for hours.
What was the benefit of that? Like, what were they seeing that they thought that was going to be beneficial from that?
The benefit was on the company side because at that moment you were able to really screen that person.
Yeah.
All right. You were able to ask all the questions that you wanted. You were able to get into detail.
So like get into a personal connection with the people that
and find out who this person really was. Okay. And not only that, but the paperwork. I mean, there was a lot of paperwork that these people needed to fill out because again, it was part of the screening process. You wanted to make sure you found the right person for the position. But it was getting to a point where a lot of these people were becoming angry, becoming frustrated. And it's understandable.
Right.
2 to 3 hours sitting in a room. I've got things to do. I've got places to go, right? And so they were getting frustrated, and we were seeing that the number of applicants was starting to dwindle, all right? As other companies caught on and made their application process shorter, we had to get into that as well. So, I mean, we went from a 3-hour orientation and application process. Now we're down to like 30, 45 minutes. Okay. And so when we're talking about the application process, I mean, how long ago was it that you applied with Forge Industrial Staffing?
4 years ago.
4 years ago.
Yeah.
Do you remember the application process? Do you remember it being a hassle? Do you remember it being fun? What exactly did it look like?
Well, the application process for internal employees was a bit different
Yeah.
from what it is with external employees. So to me, it was just basic information.
Yeah.
And then getting a couple of phone calls from you and Brian and
Right.
that sort of thing. But it didn't take too long.
Right.
So, I mean, it wasn't anything that I was like kind of worried about or, had a problem filling out.
Yeah.
It was pretty easy to do.
Yeah. And in a situation like that, I mean, you're dealing with people, and I'm going to toot my own horn here, but you're dealing with people who have been in that industry for years.
Yeah.
Right? So we knew what we were looking for. So when we sat down with people, we knew we had to look for somebody who was outgoing, someone who was vocal, someone who had charisma, good attitude. Those are the things that we were looking for. And you can tell that pretty quick. I mean, you can sit down in a room with somebody and just talk. Not really questions about the business or anything like that. Just talk. And you can find those things out pretty quick, right? And so it was pretty simple to see, you have charisma, man. You're outspoken. You're that type of person. So it was pretty easy to see that when we sat down with you and talked to you. That was easy to see. But now you've got these other companies, I remember when I started looking for work, right? I remember going to Meyer and asking, hey, I'm looking for work. What's the process?
Yeah.
And Meyer's, there's a kiosk over there. Go sit down and fill out the application. So I go over to this thing and it was like starting to fill out these questions, and I get done with the first page and I look on the bottom and it said 1 of 49 pages. And I was like, no, this is ridiculous. I'm out of here. And I did not finish the application. I walked out of there because, I mean, I was a young kid. I'm talking about 19, right? I'm like, what 19-year-old is going to want to fill out 49 pages of questions? No, thank you.
Yeah, it definitely gets boring. I mean, I definitely see why, companies with longer applications have less people.
Yeah.
Because nobody wants to sit there for an hour, 2 hours filling out an application.
Yeah.
They might as well go to the next company to see what they have to offer.
Now, and I do think it does matter.
In certain cases.
In certain cases.
So I used to work at a hospital here in Grand Rapids, and there it made sense because they have to make sure that you don't have allergies, don't have any mental issues, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And so in certain for certain positions it does matter, like the application does matter. But for others, when you're just not saying that there's anything wrong with working a basic like assembly job, but they shouldn't require an application that's so extensive,
Right.
like our other companies.
Yeah.
And if they could take away from making like huge applications and kind of summarize them, it helps everybody out.
Yeah. I definitely would agree. I have worked for some companies where the questions during that interview and the application process were not relevant to the position.
Yeah.
When you talk about if I'm working on an assembly line, let's just say for an example, why do I need to tell you? I mean, looking at education, looking at my education background, looking at how many years of college, I'm like, I'm on an assembly line.
Yeah.
That doesn't really require a college education to do assembly work.
Right.
And those kinds of things. So I do think it really matters. Not that those people are dumb. That's not what I'm saying. They're very intelligent people who work on an assembly line, right? But during that application, if I'm going in for an assembly position, certain things just aren't relevant.
And we've also seen that a lot of companies have dropped, GED requirements, college requirements,
right? Because
they notice that people aren't going to be as drawn to those positions,
right?
So, I mean, at least they're doing that. But now we have things like Indeed, right?
Yeah.
That make the application process so much easier for folks.
And not only is it easier, but I'm doing it from the comfort of my house.
Yeah.
Right? I'm not having to go to some office and dress up and sit down at a kiosk or anything like that. I'm on my sofa. I'm filling out this resume. I'm submitting it to this website, right? And they will start looking for
And it's
work.
automated,
Yeah.
right? So they'll find the positions for you.
They bring the positions to me.
Exactly. So now you have the choice of, pick and choose and see what positions are good for you.
Yeah.
And so does the company.
Yeah.
Because they can pick out the applicants and try to filter the ones that they like.
Yeah.
Which is good, but could also be a negative in a way when they're choosing resumes over personality, right? Because they never get to actually meet the person until they have the interview.
Yeah.
So they can see a really nice resume, but when they get to actually meet the person, it's not what the paper said.
Right.
Yeah. So that's that negative side effect.
And they're also dealing with, it's an automation, right? So they're dealing with the machine. So me as an applicant, I'm submitting this, and they're figuring out the algorithm, the math, and everything, trying to get you the best positions out there. And they're not really figuring that human aspect of it, right? And so you're getting all these emails about all these positions.
Yeah.
And again, is that you're missing out on that face to face. You're missing out. Maybe the position is what I want, but the company, maybe I don't want to work for that company because the culture there isn't quite what I'm used to or what I want.
Right.
And you're not going to get that through a system like that for sure.
Or maybe you don't have the experience.
Yeah.
But you are somebody that's willing to learn. Yeah. And you could vocalize that in an interview.
Yeah.
Whereas on an application, it's just what's on the paper.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
I'm gonna chime in here actually.
All right.
I'm gonna come on.
So
we've
we've got
Here comes a new challenger.
we've got another guest with us today.
Spencer Hoffman.
Mr. Spencer. We like to call him the Spence.
It's the featured. Oh yeah, all the time. It's the featured producer show apparently today.
Yeah. One of our producers behind behind the cameras here. What do you have to say about this?
So you guys were talking about the application process, and I just remembered a funny story of when I was trying to apply for my first job. I was 16 or 17 at the time, and it was for a restaurant. I'm not going to name it, but it rhymes with Wacker Warrel. And so I'm applying to this unnamed restaurant. And
you named it.
No. There's at least I can think of at least 100 restaurants that rhyme with that. I'll censor it if I need to. But anyway, so I apply online, and like as you were talking, like online applications were kind of like the standard already, and I was like, okay, applied there. Just get some extra money. It'd be my first. 16 or 17. I apply and they say, hey, come on in for an interview. And I'm like, great. Set the time to come in for the interview. I come in and I sit down. They're like, all right, so we're going to have you fill out the application. And I said, I filled out the application online. That's why I came in for the interview. And they go, oh, no. You got to fill out a paper application too. Like, okay. So I fill out the exact same information a second time.
Lazy as
So then you're like, what's the point of filling it out online if I have to come here and do the same thing?
Exactly. So here's the fun part about it. So keep in mind for the next part of the story, they had my information. They asked me to come in. Mm-hmm. So I go to the interview now. Now I finally got the clearance to do the magical interview. And I sit down with the person. They're like, okay, hi, nice to meet you. We start doing some introductory questions. It's pretty basic. And then they go, oh. And I'm like, was there a problem? Yeah. What's the issue? Like, oh, I'm looking at your first application here. You're under 18? And I said, yeah. That was one of the first things that you had me fill out there was my age. And they're like, oh, we don't hire people under 18.
Thanks for wasting my time.
I'm like, okay, cool. I filled out the application online. I came here. I filled out a second application only to get to the interview for you to tell me that you're not able to hire me.
You think that the first question would be, are you 18? And then if not, then just prompt you to like, yeah.
That was one of the first questions. They had that information. They had that information before they called me in. And they were just like, well.
The point of the application process is so they can screen those people out.
They weed me out before I even get my hopes up about getting a job. So, yeah, that was reminded me of a time where it's just companies, man, need to get this unnamed restaurant, but that is all. Spencer out.
Dang on Wacker Warrel.
Wacker Warrel, if you're out there listening, change up your application. But I mean, and we hear stories like this all the time, and I think that whole application process says a lot about the company, right? Because people also, they have a choice of what company they want to work for. And so that application process does say a lot about the company, and hopefully you get the right application that says the right thing about your company. Think about it.
So how could we have applications like the ones that we do on Indeed and still give that personal connection to the people?
So, the company that we work with, Forge Industrial Staffing, they do put a lot of thought into that process. So when we're talking about the application process, I'm referring to the candidates that are coming in looking for work through our company, right? And they did put a lot of thought into the process of how do we make this easy? How do we make it so it's not time consuming?
Yeah.
How do we make it so that people are not getting frustrated and just quitting on the application process, right? So they looked at that process, and a lot of it is done with on your mobile phone. A lot of it's done at home, on your tablet, on your laptop. We want people to be comfortable when they're filling out the application. We also provide the opportunity if they're not able to finish it. We understand that you're busy. There's a mom or dad filling this out and they have kids. Now they got to go feed their kids. We have
autosave.
And so we have that autosave feature. They're creating an account so they can come back later and complete that application process. That also has a feature where they're going to get reminders on their phone, on their email saying, hey, remember that application you started filling out? It's still there for you.
Yeah.
And so we put a lot of thought into that process of how do we make this easier for the applicant? Because once the application is in, we start doing the work looking for the work.
Right.
We're looking for that assignment for that person. All we need them to do is just get that application done. So, and that whole application process, we timed it. How do we get it from the 2 to 3 hours? How do we get that down to maybe just 30 minutes?
30 minutes. And we're still working on it.
And we're still looking at it. We're still looking at the process. So I do think that we have to, as a company, and any company out there, you have to keep in mind, you have to appreciate the time of the person.
Yeah.
All right. We live in a generation where everything's go, 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 move, right? And so for me to be able to sit down for 3 hours and fill out an application, that doesn't fit my lifestyle. That doesn't fit my schedule. And so to be able to sit down and fill something out really quick, 30 minutes, and then get the process started, even better.
And I appreciate that we're still doing the in-person interviews.
Yeah.
Because that matters a lot.
Yeah.
Some people come in and they're like, well, staffing or industrial work isn't for me. And we just get that done, and it's done right there. As opposed to filling out an application and doing something like what Spencer.
And and the owners of the company, the board of directors that we have a huge focus on that face to face.
Yeah.
That's something that is the foundation of our company. That's how we were able to establish our company, is that face to face, is sitting down with people and forming that connection with them, and not treating them like a piece of paper, not treating them like another number, but actually sitting down with these people and figuring out what they need in their life. Our slogan right now is changing lives, right? Forge Industrial Staffing, change lives. How do you change a life if you don't actually sit down with them and actually find out what they need, what they're looking for? You can only do that face to face. So, being able to find that balance and being able to adapt to the generation that you're trying to serve, I think that's really important, keeping that in mind. And I think we do a really good job. Okay, we're going to give you guys an easy application done on your phone, but we also want to sit down with you. We want to see you face to face.
The best of both worlds.
We want to talk to you, exactly.
Yeah.
So, there's different ways to do it out there. And like you said, we're still researching, we're still looking into it, and we want the best way. And I think a lot of companies need to look into that for sure.
100%.
Yeah. All right. Next subject.
Sure.
I'm actually looking forward to this subject here, you guys.
All right.
We're talking about branding. We're talking about, logos. We're talking about what makes a company, right? And you think of companies with great branding, Coca-Cola. You think of companies like that, right?
Nike.
Nike's the one we really want to talk about today, right?
Yeah. I mean, that's one of the ones that we're going to talk about. But yeah, so our next subject is proper payment for promotion, right?
Yeah.
So right now, I would say this.
Oh, we're not talking about Nike then.
Oh, no, Nike. We'll get to it later.
My bad.
Proper payment for promotion.
Cut that, right?
Yeah, it's rewind time.
So our next subject is going to be
proper payment for promotion, right? So Jeff told us this. Well, it was one of the things that he included in this template, right?
Yeah.
But the story about a UPS driver who went viral on social media for posting videos on TikTok about the company they work for, right? And so it was a positive video. He talked about all the positive things of working for UPS and, the good compensation and that sort of thing. And UPS actually reached out to him. The CEO wrote him a letter and gave him a token.
Yeah.
That's right. So eventually what ended up happening is
let's make this clear. So when you say token, what are we talking about?
I'm not talking about like
Bitcoin.
not
Cryptocurrency.
No.
You're
not
talking
far
about
from it. Like a token,
an actual token
with like UPS
that had no value, really.
no
to
value.
it, right?
I mean, it must like and probably had meaning to the
Right,
company, but
right.
no like value in
Right.
regards to like
Financial.
That's
Right.
the word I was looking
Yeah.
for. So he went back on social media and was like, I still want my check though,
Yeah.
And so we were talking about it a little bit earlier. It's not something that the company asked him to do.
Right.
So should be
Should
he be compensated for that?
No, I don't think, and maybe he didn't go in with that a goal or that mentality of I'm going to get paid for doing this.
Right.
He was showing appreciation to the company that he worked for. It sounded like he really did like working for UPS or likes working for UPS. Really enjoyed his job, really enjoyed the compensation that he was receiving for the job that he was doing.
Yeah.
And so he's just on there saying, I like my job. I really like my job. And here's a company, a great company. If you're looking for work, UPS is where you want to go. Right. And so he was doing something out of just the goodness of his heart. Right. And I think that if the company had just gone to him and said, hey, man, that was awesome of you. Thank you very much. We really do appreciate it. And shake his hand. Sweet.
That would have just been fine.
I think that would have been fine. Right. But the fact that they sent him this token.
It was kind of like a slap to the face.
In my opinion, yeah.
In his point of view, it was a slap.
In my point of view, I think I would think the exact same thing. Like,
yeah.
I get this. Maybe it was an envelope, right? He gets this letter. He gets this package, right? First thing you're gonna think is, sweet, I just got compensation, right? That's where your mind goes. I got a package. There's going to be something in here, whether it be a ticket for something, maybe, there's going to be some financial value in this, right? You open it up and it's a token. What am I going to do with this token?
It's bigger than you expected? Smaller? What is it?
Like a token.
An actual token.
Oh, God.
Clark, that's the gift that keeps on giving the whole year.
That it is, Edward.
But do you think that if more people started boasting about their companies that they work for on social media, they would be expecting something from the company all the time?
I do think that. I do think that if...
So that's not genuine anymore.
No,
right?
no.
So because you're only doing it for the purpose of getting compensated.
Well, now the company is buying your favoritism, right? They're buying your time to like the company, right?
Yeah.
And that's, like you said, that's not genuine.
Yeah.
There's nothing genuine about that.
And I'm wondering, would the company still compensate him if the video didn't go viral?
No, absolutely
At all.
not.
Right.
No.
So,
they wouldn't have never known about the video had it not gone viral.
Yeah.
Right.
So I'm not sure. I mean, that's a dicey subject.
It is dicey, but I think the fact that they sent that token, in my opinion, the worst tip that you can give to a waitress is just a couple of coins. I think that's worse than not giving them anything.
Yeah.
Right? If I just walk away and I don't give you a tip, obviously the waitress is going to be very upset. But if I just leave 2 quarters, that's like a slap, in my opinion.
Oh, for sure.
Right? And so for this guy to receive this package and think, I'm getting something, and then open it up and it's like...
And there's been cases where like people on TikTok go viral for certain things that they do, and companies actually compensate them fairly.
Yeah.
Like I don't know if you remember a video of I forgot the guy's name, but he was drinking cranberry juice on a longboard.
This guy
the sunset's going down, and he's bumping some Fleetwood Mac. I think it was Dreams by them.
Yeah.
And sick video.
Yeah.
Awesome video. And so he got major TikTok
appreciation.
He went
huge. He was huge.
He got compensated by Ocean Spray, which I think that's the name of the company.
Didn't even work for them.
Yeah, and so I think they bought him a truck. And like a bunch of cranberry juices.
I even hear that there's like, I don't know, some TV show or something in production.
Like he got just major love from the TikTok community for that.
Yeah.
And I mean, that was awesome, but it was genuine.
Yeah.
The companies handled it correctly.
Yeah.
I mean, they compensated the guy. They appreciated him for what he did.
Now,
And so,
should the company compensate that? No.
but it was cool that they
But it was
did
kind of
that.
cool, yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean,
If you're going to say thank you to someone for something like that, I mean, they just made you famous. They just made you more popular. They just gave you free advertisement, right? I do think there should be some compensation. I mean, even if you just buy them dinner, you know, hey, dinner's on us. I mean, when I say dinner, not McDonald's, or, you know, I'm talking about, you know, take them out to a nice steakhouse and dinner's on us. Take your girlfriend, take your husband, take, you know, somebody and enjoy dinner on us. Something like that, even something going that direction, awesome.
Yeah.
You know, it doesn't cost this company that much money. I mean, you look at this one video of this guy who had been with Burger King for 27 years, right? And he gets this little gift bag. It was basically like a gift bag that you could get at a 10-year-old birthday party.
Yeah.
Of, you know, not missing one day in 27 years. How much would it cost Burger King to maybe send him a, you know, $500 check, $250 check? And that's minuscule for a company that huge, right? To show your appreciation. And I do think that appreciation goes far when it comes to an employee. And when I say appreciation, I'm not saying that you have to compensate them every single time they do something great. I'm not saying that you have to give them hundreds of dollars every time.
Right.
But something that really does show that you appreciate them.
Especially companies that are as big as Burger King or as big as UPS.
Right. Now, if I'm working for a small little mom and pop shop and they really do appreciate me,
And that's all they give you, like the letter.
and they give you a nice little letter, and
then
they're like,
it's
"Man,
understandable.
we really appreciate, we want to do more for you, but this is really all we can do, you know,
Right.
dinner's on us," or whatever it is, something small. I mean, you're going to understand it. But when I'm working for a multi-billion-dollar company and I get a token,
Yeah.
I get a small little gift bag, then I'm thinking, like, do you really appreciate me? Because
Right.
now I feel like you're just taking advantage of me.
Right.
And so when it comes to promotions, when it comes to that kind of compensation, I mean, obviously you have to gauge it by the situation. I can't expect a small mom and pop shop to give me $1,000 bonus because they could put them out of business, right? So you have to gauge and you have to look at the situation. But if I'm showing you my appreciation, I really want, it has to kind of hurt me in a little bit. If I really want to show you my appreciation, it's going to have to hurt me just a bit. I'm not saying that it breaks me, but there's got to be something like, a little
Right.
bit. That really shows appreciation.
And, you know, using social media for something positive like that could also be used for something negative. So, like, there's a lot of people that go on social media and bash on the companies that they work for. And, I mean, it's not something that's, you know, necessarily positive, but some people do it for good reason.
Yeah.
Right?
Well,
so,
the
like,
company's bad enough, yeah.
yeah.
Why not?
So, I mean, there's certain instances where people are, you know, talking about, can we name companies? We can name companies, right? So, like, things like Amazon, right?
Yeah.
Where they say, and this is because of,
And these are just things that we've heard.
Yeah, and this is
Things
just,
that you can find online, you guys.
Right.
It's out there in the public domain.
So, like, rumors, per se.
Yeah.
Not allowing the bathroom breaks.
They don't allow bathroom breaks.
Not allowing drinks. Not allowing cell phones on the floor.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
Things like that. And that could spread on social media and you know, give a negative connotation to those companies.
Well, and this is something that we hear quite often, that, you know, companies like Amazon are they're just a rotating door, right? People are going in and out of this company. They're getting hired, within a couple of months they're fired, and then they get the new batch of people coming through.
Yeah.
Because the expectation is just so high. Because they don't allow bathroom breaks, because they just don't treat their people like people. They treat them like cattle. They treat them like a machine. They treat them, you know, big companies like this quite often have that kind of reputation. And we hear this quite often. Now, I've never worked for Amazon. You've never worked for Amazon. I don't know anybody personally who's worked for Amazon.
Yeah.
So, you know, these are just things that we hear, but you hear them so often that you kind of start believing. You know,
And it
there's got
makes
to be
sense
some truth to it.
because we don't really, as an Amazon customer, like I am, and I'm sure you are.
Yeah,
we don't
I
really think about
I
that
really
aspect.
enjoy Amazon, so
For sure,
let me just say that.
So we only think about the good side of Amazon.
Right.
Fast packages.
Yeah.
A wide variety.
I get whatever
items.
I want. I make an order tonight, and I'm going to receive it tomorrow. That's awesome.
Exactly, but we never look into, you know, what the worker's life is like, you know, and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So I mean, it sucks if it's going on or what people are saying is true.
Yeah.
But I mean,
But do you think the compensation
makes up for the work.
makes is equal to the work?
I don't think any.
You don't think so?
I don't think any place should not allow bathroom breaks and should not allow.
Well, that's if it's true, right?
if it's true,
Right. No,
Right,
it
right,
doesn't matter how much you get paid. I should be allowed a bathroom break. And so when you, and I've seen this quite often too, where people say I wasn't allowed a bathroom break. And then when you get with the company's like, well, he wanted to take 5 breaks. He wanted to take a break every 15 minutes.
Yeah.
And then you're like, okay, well, they allow for, bathroom breaks. They just didn't allow it every time you wanted it.
And I'm sure they have to have a structure out there, right? I mean, they have hundreds of thousands of
or you're on a
people
line
working at their factories. So
yeah, you pull one person from the line, and that messes up the whole system.
Yeah.
So I can understand that too. But if you do have a company that doesn't allow any bathroom breaks, then yeah, I mean, there's something wrong there.
For sure.
There's no compensation that makes up for that. So
yeah.
But yeah,
social media is crazy.
Yeah.
People use it all the time to like bash on restaurants and stuff.
That's the only time you get reviews, I think.
Yeah.
A company can do a fantastic job, 9 out of 10 times.
And it's a negative.
That one.
Yeah, and they go all out on those reviews.
All out.
Like talking about, infestations and like the roaches were cooking.
Yeah.
We had roaches everywhere.
Yeah.
Just crazy stuff like that.
Yeah.
But, that could really be detrimental to the companies that, might have had issues.
Yeah.
And then
I mean, I've had it happen. Me working at Ford, somebody left a review saying me being the only guy in the office, and they put a review on there, and they said the guy in the office was cussing me out, and so that got back to me, and I'm like, I'm the guy in the office. Everyone who works with me, everyone who lives with me, everybody who knows me knows
that you don't cuss.
I don't cuss.
Yeah.
I don't use curse words. Never have. I mean, I have, but it's been a long time since I have. I don't do it.
Yeah, and
so to see stuff like that, I was like, what?
Social media is very one-sided.
Yeah.
Like, you're going to hear the negative things, and then it doesn't give you the opportunity to express what actually happened.
Yeah.
You probably didn't even say anything back.
And even if you do have the opportunity to come back, it just makes you look worse. It makes you
Why are you defending it so much if that's not true?
Yeah.
But, yeah. I mean, it's a big dilemma. We could talk about this forever.
Yeah.
Really. But now we can get into the good stuff. I mean, it was all good. But.
It was all good. This is my favorite part of the conversations today.
Really?
When we're talking about Nike.
Is it?
Yes. Oh, why do you say that, Jeff?
No, it's not like I was on there.
So this is like the third favorite thing of today.
Keep in mind, we're
right behind Spencer and Jeff here.
Keep in mind, we're the ones editing.
Yes, exactly. But I do really want to talk about this. I, for one, think that branding for a company is really important.
Yeah.
I don't think there's anything more important than branding. When you talk about bad reviews, when you talk about these viral videos that go out there, whether they're talking up the company they work for or bashing the company that they work for, I think branding means a lot for a company. And so that's why a lot of companies look into these viral videos. That's why a lot of these companies are looking into the reviews that come in online. They're looking into this because this is a part of their brand.
It's a part of that specific company's culture.
People are going to read those reviews. They're going to see those viral videos, and that's what they're going to think about the company, right? Sure. And so when you talk about branding, we're talking about logos. We're talking about what information, what imagery are you giving to the public about your company, okay? And obviously, you want it to always be good, right? And when we talk about big companies that do it right, you got companies like McDonald's, you got companies like Coca-Cola, you got companies like, what are you showing here? Dell, Apple, all of these companies, right? Nike is among the top of them, right? And Nike does an excellent job of branding. Nike does an excellent job. And then one of the most popular things about Nike, it's a logo that everyone knows. You go anywhere in the world and you see that swoop, you know it's Nike.
Yeah.
All right. And it is the simplest logo in the world. But I mean, it means so much. You see that, and it's not only just a logo that tells you it's Nike, it's what they represent too. You know, when you're talking about high quality sports product, Nike, you see that, and that's what you think, high sports quality, right? So if you're listening and you want to sponsor, I'm a size 10.5.
Have they sponsored podcast hosts? Probably not.
We'll be the first.
I mean, maybe. I don't know. That'd be cool.
Just send me a pair. Whatever, 10.5.
Yeah, but you definitely have something that comes to mind when you think of companies like Nike or Apple, right? So Nike is just a just do it mindset. Yeah. And Apple is like, something that's innovative and you think outside the box. Under Armour for the underdogs. Yeah. And, that sort of thing. But we're talking about Nike specifically because of like the story behind Nike, right?
Right.
And what it means. The logo.
Yeah, the
right?
creation of the Nike logo, what made Nike Nike.
Yeah. So the logo itself is, Nike itself is the Greek goddess, right, of victory.
Yep.
So that's what that means.
So they take the name Nike from this Greek goddess who was named Nike.
Right.
And she is the goddess, the Greek goddess of victory, right? And I think I read something where it says that the fighters, when they would cross each other, they would say Nike to each other. It was kind of a way of saying hello. So two fighters, whatever sports they were in, as they crossed, they would say Nike.
Where, in the Olympics?
That was just something that I saw. This is something in Greece.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
I see what you're saying.
Yep. But go ahead. I'm
You
sorry.
know, during the Olympics, I forgot what year it was, but the Olympics are held in London, right? And Adidas at the time had sponsorship or endorsed, I'm not sure what the right wording is, the Olympics at the time, right? So Nike could not put anything in their campaign that said Olympics or anything that said like London, that specific place. So they created a campaign where they specifically avoided that place and the Olympics, but they used, instead of using London, the place in UK, they use like Londons from like different places. So like if there was a London in Africa, they'd use that and they'd put it in their video. So they got way more popularity or way more views on their videos online than Adidas, which was actually sponsoring the Olympics at the time, because they still managed to
Genius marketing.
so and they didn't hire any like big time athletes. They hired like kids off the streets.
Yeah.
And they gave it a sense of like if you know they could do it, a kid off the street could also get into the Olympics. And so just the way that they put out
marketing.
their campaign
Well,
was insane.
They had an understanding that if we're going to make money, we have to sell this to the public. We're not selling to athletes. Obviously, athletes are going to wear this stuff, but it's going to be the public.
And
that's
we're
gonna buy
not
it.
just catering to the athletes.
Yeah.
We're catering to anybody who's dreaming of becoming an
Right.
athlete.
So if you're dreaming of being an athlete, that's genius marketing, in my opinion. It gives me chills just thinking about it.
Yeah.
I'm not even looking at the video, and it gives me chills to think about that. But yeah, talk a little bit more about like the actual creation of the Nike logo. Where did that come from?
So yeah, Phil Knight and Bill Berman, I think that's how you pronounce his name, had a dissatisfaction with the American sports shoe, right? This American running shoe. Now, Bill Berman was coach of Phil Knight at the Ohio State University, and so they just decided to create a company. And what better what better place to create items than Japan? So at the time, Japan was taking over a bunch of industries and that sort of good stuff. And they seen that was a lot of potential to buy Japanese products and sell them in the U.S. So they went ahead and did that.
They were not happy with the products that the U.S. was making at the time. So they decided to go to Japan, get their products, bring them over to the United States and sell it that way.
So like I guess the running shoes at the time were too stiff.
Okay.
And so
Japan was just doing it better at the time.
Japan was doing it better. Bill Berman was he wrote a couple books about jogging. He kind of started that movement.
Okay.
So they decided that let's do it. We're gonna invest a couple $100 into this company in Japan.
Yep.
Which at the time was called Onitsuka Tigers, which is now Asics.
Okay.
So that's now Asics.
Interesting. Okay.
And so they bought shoes from them and sold them in the U.S. as what's the name of their
Blue Ribbon Sports.
Blue Ribbon Sports.
Yep.
So they sold them in the U.S. as Blue Ribbon Sports, and one of their first shoes was the Cortes, right? And so let me check what year. Well, during the Olympics at the time, which was held in Mexico City, they tried to release a shoe called the Aztec, but Adidas already had a shoe like that, so they're like, no, you can't use that name. So they used Cortes.
Okay.
Right. So they made Cortes, and the shoe just blew up, right?
Again, because of genius marketing. I'm
Genius
sure.
marketing and the logo.
Yeah.
Right. So the logo was created by Carol Davidson. Right. She wrote up a bunch of designs on napkins.
Yeah.
And just for $35, Phil Knight and Bill Berman bought the logo from her.
Yeah.
And that was that.
And what's crazy about it is that she, according to what I read, she was a student at the time. She was a graphic designer student.
Yeah. She
And
would
like
do
you
other
said,
stuff.
She was just, just doodling.
Right.
I mean, she wasn't really like, this is going to be the thing that's going to make me huge. She was just putting something together for these
Phil
guys.
Knight and Bill Berman didn't even like it at first.
No.
Like they're like, all right, we'll settle for this. I
And
mean,
it's
it's not what we want, but
Right.
I guess.
Well, yeah, it was more of a, from what I read, it was more of a, we can't afford anything else.
Yeah.
We've already paid as much as we can. And we're talking about $35 that they gave her for this logo.
Yeah.
And so they were like, we can't afford anything else right now. So we're just going to take this. And Phil Knight was like, I'll eventually grow into it.
Yeah.
Well, it turned out to be great for him.
It turned out to be amazing
Yeah.
because of the whole aesthetic of the logo. It fit perfectly on Nike shoes.
Yeah.
So like going back to the Cortez, the Olympics were in 1968 when they were held in Mexico.
Okay.
Going back to the Cortez, the shoe became so iconic that a bunch of people in LA started wearing it, a bunch of joggers, a bunch of sports people started using it. And so it was just setting the initial, like, this is what we do. This is what Nike's all about. And then it just spread like wildfire.
Yeah.
Right.
Now, that swoop is supposed to symbolize
Movement.
Well,
Right.
I think it says something about the wings of the goddess Nike.
Yeah.
So that swooping movement, that swift, that speedy. I mean, it's perfect. It's so simple, but it says so much within that. Once you find out the history, you're like, whoa, it's perfect for that brand, because you want to be fast, you want to be swift, you want to be light, you want to be moving. That's perfect. And
Yeah.
then the name Nike, it just rolls off the tongue.
So logos really do. I mean, the logo here really was awesome, but just the whole marketing behind it
Yeah.
is what just took it to the next
Yeah.
level.
They centered. I mean, they really focused on this logo.
Yeah.
And then they take off with this logo, and they continue to build on the brand. They don't just stay right there. I mean, then they start bringing in Michael Jordan. Now you got the Jumpman logo along with Nike.
Yeah.
Right. And I remember that when that was coming out, when Nike basically told Michael, we want you to wear our shoes. All right. And at the time that he started wearing the shoes, the NBA basically said, no, you have to wear the shoes that we provide. There's a certain shoe that you have to, and Nike does not fit that qualification. You cannot wear those shoes on court. And Nike came in and told Michael Jordan, you wear the shoes, and when they fine you, we'll pay the fines. All right. Again, genius marketing. So Michael Jordan goes out there and he's wearing these sweet looking Nikes, and he's playing the way that he plays. I mean, they hired the best player in the NBA, right? And he's doing his thing. Everybody's looking at him like, I want to be just like Mike.
Yeah.
I need some Nikes.
Yeah.
Right? Genius marketing, man. It was genius. And then they really incorporated, they really take advantage of that. And I mean, they made him a part of Nike. You got the Jumpman, you got Air Jordans, right? They made that a part of the brand. And they continue to build on that. Until this day, you still see those commercials, and it's not really about the athlete. They might have a commercial with an athlete, but then they show just a common Joe playing along with the athlete. So it's this branding of, we can make you the best that you can be.
It's just up to you, and anybody has the ability to become that. So it's not just for the Michael Jordans of the world.
Yeah.
It's for you and me.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what they try to paint.
And the logo looks sweet.
Yeah, I mean,
I do like
iconic.
That swoop is just so simple again, but it looks so nice, so simple, and it's attractive.
Yeah.
It's attractive. It looks nice. Is that all we got?
No.
I know.
Oh.
Man, I'm talking for an hour and a
I think
half.
we could talk. I mean, unless you guys still want to play the video.
What videos?
I mean, we can save it for next time.
Okay.
too.
We're done with that?
All right.
Yeah,
All right.
whatever you guys want, because we are good on time. We
Oh,
talked
really?
for a bit on some of those, so
Okay.
we can save everything for next
Let's
time
get
too.
it.
We're
Man, the fact that we just
Yeah.
that's awesome. So yeah, so we're gonna call it for the day. We're gonna wrap it up. And once again, if any of the affiliates or the people out there who work for Nike want to hook us up, 10.5. Jesus, what size are you?
10.5.
10.5. So if you want to,
I didn't know you were a 10.5, dude.
10.5, man. 10.5.
easy.
So if you want to send something our way, we live in Grand Rapids, Forging the future, Will Santiago.
I'm glad you remembered this time, Will.
has- I did have a hard time remembering the name of the podcast. I have horrible memory.
He was like, "What?
What
What
is
is
it
that?"
called again? It's on our poster, you guys. Check it out. But yeah, so Forging the Future. This is episode number 4, maybe, or maybe 2. So keep listening, you guys. Listen to the other podcasts. Share, like, leave comments. If you want to hear any subjects, if you want us to talk about something, please. We want you guys to be a part of this podcast, and just let us know what you want to hear, and we'd be more than happy to talk about that. But until next time, this is Will Santiago.
This is Jesus Cortes, and we are out.
Forging the future.
Awesome.
Forging the future. Coming to you from the basement of the office. Please make that the credit song.